Is the new PUMA Ultra 1.3 any good? And can it live up to the great reception that the first Ultra got? Well, today I'll tell you why I think this is a better speed boot than the original, but also why it's completely different, which might surprise and or disappoint some people out there. And hopefully, ultimately, I'll help you decide whether you should buy them or not. I'm JayMike, and this is the PUMA Ultra 1.3 review. A lot has changed on the Ultra 1.3, which is now less of a woven textile upper and more of a sandwich of an inner support skeleton called the speed cage and this Matrix Evo grid for stability and comfort, which is then topped off with a thin silicone film. And it's all been done to bring the boot even closer to your foot. And if you compare it to the original Ultra 1.1 and 1.2, the new one feels a little less like your granddad's cozy slippers and a bit more like a skin-tight wetsuit. That's probably mostly because the shape of the boot itself has been made a bit more narrow, especially in the midfoot, which means that the feeling in that area is more snug. Now, that's bad news for really wide-footed people, but good news for all of us who felt that the original Ultra was a bit too wide and too roomy. And that new tighter fit makes for a very nice and secure feeling. And when you combine the fact that you have the speed cage that really follows the curves of your foot and hugs it very tightly, with a really well-fitting heel that gives you a little bit of a hold sensation without ever squeezing your foot, makes for a very comfortable sensation in the sense that you don't really have anything annoying your foot in any way. And when you combine that with a very solid amount of lockdown, you get the feeling that the boot kind of holds the foot in place as it starts to move when you make directional changes. So overall, fit and comfort is pretty good, especially considering that the boot is only 150 grams-ish. The upper itself is a little bit synthetic-y, but still pretty soft from the get-go, mainly of course because it is so thin. And when you combine the fact that it softens up when you break it in with a really soft knitted collar that sits tighter to the foot, the new Ultra is very easy to step into and enjoy right away. Of course, if you can deal with that pretty minimalistic skin-huggingly tight fit. Speaking of that, however, there is one point where it's not skin-huggingly tight, which is the outside of the toe box for me. A little bit roomy, which is weird, but I'd probably still go true to size with my usual UK 6. The outsole, however, is, well, it's the exact same PUMA outsole as before. It's stiff, meaning that it's nice and responsive and gives you that very aggressive feeling with a lot of grip in the ground when you push off. So it ticks the boxes that I think a speed boot should. When it comes to the touch, I really hope you like the feeling of the ball. And okay, it would be weird to play football and hate the feeling of the ball, but you know what I mean? Because this upper is thin. It's very thin, meaning that the feeling is really sharp and ultra raw, pun intended. But because you have the Grip Control Pro outer silicone layer here, it means that it's a little bit more sticky and feels like an amplified barefoot touch. It takes a little bit getting used to so you don't trip on the ball and fall over, but if you like that feeling of being a little bit more connected to the ball when you dribble with speed, well, it's a great little sensation. The rest of the touch is, well, you feel everything you do, because there's no layer of foam on the inside to take away the ping you get when you strike the ball really hard. It's honest. So if you like tight-fitting, mega-light speed boots, these are honestly pretty great. But even then, here are 4 annoying things that you also need to know about. The first thing that hit me is that the upper is a little bit stiff and synthetic-y at first until you break it in, which means that it kind of creases and crumbles up when you bend your foot. Then there is the lack of protection, because these are paper thin. So you gotta stay one step ahead of the defenders, because if you get stepped on, you'll pay the price. And then, of course, there's the width. Don't get me wrong, I love the tighter fit, but the OG Ultras were literally heaven for wide-footed people. So if I had a wide foot, I'd be kind of worried if this is going to fit me as well. And then there is the roomy toe box, which puts a dent in an otherwise near perfect one-to-one snug sensation for me, because of the dead space I have around there. And it seems that PUMA already know this, or at least know that not everyone's feet are similar. Because PUMA have actually gone and made a women's specific Ultra, which isn't just a slightly different colorway. No. It's actually made to fit women's feet better, meaning that you have a slightly narrower opening, a tighter heel, and a little bit less volume around the instep and the arch. And that also means that even if you're a male player and you think that the normal Ultra is a little bit too roomy somehow, well, the women's version is a pretty solid alternative, where you also get conical studs. And I know they're the women's version, but it shouldn't matter that you're a male player and macho pride and all that stuff. No, if it's the best fit, it doesn't matter. But no matter whether you go for the unisex or the women's version, the Ultra 1.3 is a new, more refined and more speed-minded boot. It's tighter, it's sharper, and while I kinda hate to see the first Ultra go because it was that comfortable, this is definitely a better direction for the Ultra as a speed boot. It reminds me a bit of a modern take on the original Mercurial, with that super tight and razor sharp feeling that just wired for dribbling and feeling fast. And at €200, it's a very strong challenger to the Mercurials and the X's. So if you want the lightest and the thinnest, this is the stuff. But guys, what do you think about the new Ultras? Let me know in the comment section right down below. Maybe go and cop it via the link to Unisport right over there. And then of course, don't forget to go subscribe to the channel with the notifications on before you go. And with those words, I'll be signing off. Cheerio.